Okay, so hello everybody. This is Sara Estelle here. For anybody that's not met me before, I'm a mentor to healing business owners and also the overseeing person for our diploma in flower and vibrational essences. And I'm here today with Annette Ferguson, who is actually my own accountant. So I'm delighted to introduce you, Annette, to people that come towards me. So may I just share a little bit about you before I hand over to you to share your wisdom. So Annette is the director of her company, Annette & Co. She's a chartered accountant, a money magician, which is the part that I like because part of my business is called Create a Magical Business. And a certified profit first professional. So we're going to talk a little bit about this in our chat together, your book too, absolutely. But we're going to kind of kick off with supporting you with this global crisis that we have going on and offering some support. I'm really, really passionate about all healing business owners feeling empowered with their ability to earn money, not just earn money, but to hold on to it as well and to have enough so that we can turn up and do our jobs, do what we're here to do. So welcome, Annette. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Sara. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm very pleased to be speaking to everyone.
Yeah. So shall we just kind of dive in and talk about this situation we find ourselves in now? Annette is obviously UK based. I live in France, but I do actually have a UK based business. Can you tell us a little bit about how small businesses, particularly tiny businesses, can survive in this current climate?
Yeah, absolutely. So of course, we're all in an incredibly challenging time. There's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of uncertainty at the moment. And there's a lot of worry as well about, is it okay still to be selling at this point in time? Does that look horrible, insensitive, anything like that? So I want to start by saying it's absolutely all right to be selling in your business at this time. Of course, some of the messaging might need to change. Of course, we do need to be sensitive to the current position that people are in and what they're experiencing. But you're okay still to sell, because selling is providing your solution to a problem that people are already saying they have. That is fundamentally what it is. And it's all right to do that just now. It's all right to profit from that just now, because profiting is very different from profiteering. Profiteering are those people who are, buying up all the hand sanitizer and selling them for £50 a bottle. That's profiteering. That's very different. That is the sleazy stuff. That is the horrible stuff. But running a business for profit so that you can, feed your family and take care of your life, that's completely allowed. And actually, that's really important at this time, perhaps even more so than it may have been in other times as well. So I want to kind of start by sort of caveating with that. Now, I completely understand that many, many people will either be unable to sell their services just now if they have only ever delivered face-to-face, if they cannot possibly do what they do at a distance virtually. However, there's a lot of things that we thought before that might not have worked virtually that seem to be working okay at the moment. So it's worth considering if you feel like you're that person who I just cannot sell what I do because I can't do it without being in the room with someone. It's worth having a think if that really is the case or not. Now, it may also be that you decide to not sell over this time for your own reasons. So if it's for, your own physical health reasons, that of your family, mental health reasons, that of your family, that's also completely fine too. But whether you decide to sell over this time or not, we need to remember that what do you want your business to be at the end of it? Because this is clearly horrendous for many, many people. And, my heart bleeds for the people who have lost people, who have family members who are ill themselves. But we do need to remember that this will be a short time in your business life overall. And what needs to happen so that that still exists at the end of it as well, because there will be an end point. And what do you want your business to look like from there? So with that in mind, there's a few things that we need to be thinking about doing over this period. Now, some people will decide that they don't want to sell at all, and they want to almost hibernate their business down and kind of shut it off. As I say, you may not want to sell for various reasons, and in which case, kind of hibernating the business, putting it kind of nice and small, making sure that your expenses are absolutely as low as they possibly can be if you're going to do that, because you've got no revenue coming in. So really, really shrinking down. And then once you come out the other end, giving it a bit of a water and hoping that it revives and comes back. Other people during this time will be selling as normal. They will not really have had a huge impact, maybe bits and bobs, but not a tragic drop. So you'll be able to sell as normal. It's still a good time to really make sure your expenses are okay and they're in alignment with what you're doing. It's always a good time to do that, by the way, and to make sure that that's okay. And then other people at the moment will be kind of looking at tweaking, pivoting, changing a little bit of their offerings, assessing the type of business that they want just now and in the future. And that's okay to do as well. Whichever path you choose is completely fine, but understanding what you want afterwards at the moment can be really important as well.
Sure. Yeah, so important. Thank you for that overview, Annette. So, I think a lot of the people that I work with, or who are interested in what I offer, basically we often describe ourselves as energy healers. So yes. Anybody that's offering any kind of energy-based product or service, often that is very transferable to an online setting.
Yes. Yeah, I do know some energy healers that do work online. I also know some therapists that have moved stuff online that potentially before would have not done online work, are now doing online with their clients, so that you can continue
Absolutely.
The work that you're doing, because it makes a difference to people.
Absolutely.
And let's face it, at the moment, with the massively increased levels of anxiety, of stress, of all those things, then a lot of your community's work is going to be needed now more than ever, potentially.
Absolutely. That's kind of the message that I've been putting out there, because there are a lot of people saying now, they're offering free things. Now, there's nothing wrong in offering free things on top of offering your paid things.
Yeah.
But what we absolutely don't need to do is disappear off the radar, because I'm very grateful that I have an online business. So life has actually just got busier for me.
Yes. Me too.
As it has for you too. But at the same time, I'm very aware that, for example, if I stop charging in a few months' time, I'd be down here, and then I would no longer be able to support my clients. So
and that's the problem with at the moment there are a lot of people saying, should I be giving my stuff away for free? Because everyone's in a difficult position. But the problem is, if you do that, you can't support yourself. And if you can't support yourself, you can't possibly serve your clients in the best way at all, serve your customers in the best way. That doesn't work. The energetics of this much more than I do, but there is, when money changes hands, there is an energetic exchange there. And that's really important for the work that a lot of your people will do. And as I say, you guys know much more about that than me. But the point is that if you are not charging for your services now, you won't have a sustainable business. You won't be able to serve everyone that you want to serve, because your business won't last. And so it actually pulls away from most people's missions, which is to serve and to help as many people as they can. You can't do that for free, because we need money for food and mortgages and all those kinds of things. So giving your services away for free actually has the complete opposite effect of what you might initially think it does. So I don't recommend that people discount their offerings at the moment. I don't recommend that you give away stuff for free. Now, you might have a slightly different model where you maybe didn't used to do a free discovery call, and you might do that now to lead in. You know, you might change the model a little bit, but that's not giving away your core services for free by any stretch of the imagination.
One of the things that I'm doing is not discounting, but I'm offering slightly more extended payment plans.
Yeah, exactly.
Slightly longer support packages, you know, so same investment, but a little bit more time.
Yes.
So I think there are all sorts of creative ways we can do this. And yes, I am an energy worker, and it is my business. It is my business, but at the same time, I'm a pretty practical person as well. So we absolutely welcome we have to be practical, because otherwise we're just what our work is kind of like up here.
Of course,
it's got to come down onto the earth in order to help people. So so Annette does have a Facebook group, which we're going to kind of like invite you all to go and join, so you can get her ongoing support via that. It's a public group, but maybe you could summarize a little bit. I know it's a huge thing and probably always changing as well. Many people right now will be listening or watching will have a small business in the UK. They're most likely going to be self-employed. The healing part of what they do is self-employed. What sort of support is being offered right now?
So at the moment, if you are self-employed, and I just want to caveat what we mean by self-employed. So self-employed means you're running a sole trader or a partnership. Self-employed does not mean you are a director of your own limited company. That is a really important caveat. That is the definition in both company law and HMRC law, and it is the definition for support during coronavirus. So that's really important to note. So self-employed means you're a sole trader or you are in a partnership. Now, the support that has been offered for that group of people is that you are entitled to 80% of the average trading profit of your sole trade or partnership, the average over the last 3 years, paid monthly, up to a maximum of $2,500 a month. There's a couple of bits to kind of pull out of that, because it is 80% of trading profit. So that means it's income less expenses, which is going to be problematic for people, because they will still, in some instances, have some expenses to pay. So you'll be having to pay the expenses out of profit, which is going to be difficult. Will mean there'll be less in your pocket for you anyway. So that's going to be tricky for people. And it is taxable. So at some point you will have to pay tax on this grant. Now, it is a grant, so that means that it is payable and you don't have to repay it. It's not a loan, it is a grant, but it is a taxable grant. So we expect that what will happen in the future is there'll be an extra bit in your personal tax return to declare that grant, and then you'll pay tax on it at some future date. That support, you don't have to apply for it. What happens is HMRC will contact you. We expect that to be by letter, because that is how HMRC contact people. And then you will have to complete a form. What you will need to state in that form is, we believe it's going to be some kind of self-declaration to say that you are still continuing your business and that your profits have dropped as a result of coronavirus. That's another kind of little caveat that's in there. And then the payments will not start, though, until June. So the first payments are not expected to hit bank accounts until around about June time. Now, they will backdate them into March, but that is something to note as well, that there's going to be this time period where, unfortunately, potentially your revenue has dropped, potentially dropped to zero, and the financial support, there's a gap there at the moment, which is going to be very difficult for a number of people. If that is you, then potentially universal credit is your option, but of course that means tested on household. Therefore, if someone in your household is still earning, then you may fall out of being entitled to universal credit as well. So it's going to be a bit difficult for some people with that situation. Now, another important thing to note, because this support is only available if in the 2018-19 tax year, so the tax year that ended April 19, that was submittable by January 20, if your income, your income from your sole trade was more than 50% of your declared income in your tax return. So if you have other jobs, other roles, and this is just a very small part of your income, then you're probably not entitled to receive support under it. So that's something important to note as well with that, with some of your people may have supplementary jobs too.
They may well have. So what I'm hearing is that it's good that support's being offered, that it's not immediate. And what I'm mostly hearing is that it's even more reason to get support, to know that it's absolutely okay
that it's
to
all up
ask
to us
for money. Yeah, which is essentially where we go with our own businesses, isn't it? We're finding the resources in ourselves to move through any limiting beliefs that we might have about our ability to earn.
100%.
So that's a huge part of it, but being practical is also a huge part of it. So I'm really, really grateful for sharing that information.
No problem.
So now anybody who wants, to keep up to date with this, we're going to flag up Annette's Facebook group. That's the place to go and join there. She offers fab free trainings on there as well, so you're going to get lots of support there. So there's likely to be also people who are listening, watching, who are not in the UK. Obviously, you're a UK-based accountant, and I guess we just need to go to. If you are listening in another country, you just need to go to your country's regulations.
Absolutely. They vary completely. The support varies massively at the moment from country to country. So absolutely seek out somebody who's sharing, if you can seek out either your kind of government website or health board website, whatever that might be, it might be the Department of Finance website, it might be something like that, but seek out the kind of the source of the information, I would say, rather than the murmurings, because I know I've seen a lot in the UK. There's a lot of misinformation that seems to be flying around from people that have read into things rather than read things. And so therefore making sure that whoever you're relying on for your source of information is actually studying the legislation that's coming out and is understanding that, and is not making guesses or assumptions or what they would like the legislation to say, because that would be nicer for everybody. None of that. Make sure that whoever you're looking at is actually clued up on this stuff in your own country.
Thank you. Yeah. So brilliant. That's really, really good. I feel really good that we're able to offer this support.
Me too.
So what I'd also love to do for everybody, and this includes people outside the UK as well, is talk about this a little bit. So I found out about the Profit First way of accounting via my business mentoring program, because they use it themselves, and they basically just did what I'm doing now. Is like, go get this book, find out about it and start using it. So I got the book, and anybody that knows me knows that I am practical, but I don't really do numbers. It's not something that I'm particularly good at. It kind of passes me by somewhat. I'm a tiny bit number dyslexic. I can obviously count, and I do submit my accounts, and I am able to walk in the world with it, but it's not something that's a first love of mine. And I think that's shared by many people like myself. So when I looked at this book, I was like, okay, so I understand this. I really get the premise of it, but can I do it myself? Oh, I don't think I can. So I found Annette as somebody who works her accounting business with the Profit First model, and got in touch, and the rest is history, basically. So I've only been working with you, for a short number of months, but just in that small amount of time, I can really, really see and feel how empowering it is to work in a different way. It's taken a lot of sort of subconscious angst from the future, and I feel much more in control, and I would use the word empowered rather than in control. So Now, there may well be people watching who might not be quite ready for having their own accountant, or maybe they have. If you are, then get in touch with Annette. But if people aren't, and even if they are, maybe you could explain to us a little bit about what it means to run a profit first type business, even if it's a tiny one.
Absolutely. So first off, if people haven't read the book Profit First by Mike Malkowitz, I highly recommend that you do. My copy is always at arm's length, as you can see. So I highly recommend that you do. It is available on Audible if you prefer to listen as well. Incidentally, I also have the core chapters available as a PDF at annetteandco.co.uk/pf book. If you want to get those for completely free, then you can do that. If you are, if you're not wanting to particularly receive stuff through the post at the moment, that might be an option for you. Or if you're in a country where the postal service is stopped, of course, exactly. Then that may be an option for you, as well as I say, they have an Audible version too, so you can listen on there. So if you allow me briefly just to tell you my story with Profit First, why I'm so passionate about it, and it kind of illustrates the difference it makes as well. And then I'll kind of go into how people can think about getting it in their own business as well. So with me, I discovered Profit First after about 5 years of running my business. I've been running my business for 11 years this year. So after about 5 years, I'm an avid reader of business books. I love reading business books. I do it all the time. And I had just given birth to my son. He was a handful of weeks old. And I came across it one night. I used to read on my Kindle when I was breastfeeding in the middle of the night. He never slept. I was up for hours. I got through a lot of books at that point in time. And it kind of hit me like a bolt in the middle of my forehead when I read it, because I was running a pretty successful business by all accounts. I'd hit that, elusive 6-figure business. I was there, but I was taking very little money home from my business. It seemed like every time I got money in from clients, it would disappear. And so I felt like I had no money in the business at all, very little money for us as a family. And I was working a lot, and I was fed up of it, really. I got this newborn, and I didn't take maternity leave. I was still working as much as I possibly could with this tiny baby. And I was getting a bit resentful in reality of the business, that, I wasn't able to concentrate on either particularly well. And it was upsetting me. So stumbled across this book and was like, oh my goodness, how have I not thought of this before? I'm a chartered accountant. I'm trained in this. How have I not even thought of this? How has this not been something that I've been focusing on? Incidentally, you don't get taught this stuff in chartered accounting school. So I was like, okay, I need to work on an overhaul here. So I basically sat down with all the data in my business, and I overhauled it. I basically treated my business the same way as I look at clients now. I looked at not only implementing Profit First, but getting things like forecasting, profit planning, all that kind of stuff in place as well. And I very quickly got in touch with Profit First HQ to become Profit First certified, because I was like, this is amazing. And I've been certified ever since. But the big thing that happened for us was I went from a place where I was taking home very, very little money in my business to 18 months later, my husband left his full-time job. He was a trader in London. He left his full-time job, and he became a 100% stay-at-home dad, looking after our son, who was now 1.5 years old, and I was pregnant at that time as well. So he then went on to do that with our daughter when she was born too, and we were able to live off then what I was contributing to the family, replacing his salary. So for me to say that Profit First has changed my life, it is an understatement. It's changed our family's life. It's been incredible. It's allowed us to kind of move to the position that we wanted to be in. But at that time when my son Brock was born, we just never thought that we would ever get there. It seemed like it had been a pipe dream that we'd had, and that was never going to happen. But it did. It really transformed things. And my revenue did increase during that time, but not to compensate for that difference in take home. So so it's a massive deal to me. So what Profit First is, for those people that don't know Profit First, haven't heard about it, is fundamentally it's a cash management system. Okay, it helps you control the management of cash in your business. And this can work regardless of whether you are a tiny little startup, you have very, very little revenue, or you are a multi-million pound business. It works on all levels of business. And what it says is, it basically works off a rule called Parkinson's law, which states that however much of a resource exists, we will consume it. So, for example, it works with time. When people, feel like they don't have enough hours in the day, however much of the resource exists, we consume it. And it also works with money. So the money comes into the bank account, we consume it. So what it does is it basically puts restrictions on your spending. So what we do under Profit First is, when money comes into your bank account, instead of it all disappearing, you're very thought through with it, and actually you move money into separate pots. So you may have heard of a method that Dave Ramsey uses, the envelope method, or your granny might have used this method, whereby, her husband came home and he had his weekly wage money, and she took it and she went, okay, that's for rent, that's for food, that's for whatever. Dave Ramsey's method is very similar as well for anyone who follows that for personal finances. And this is basically doing that, but in our business. So what happens is, we have a separate bank account for income, and the money comes in, and then we distribute it out to other bank accounts we've set up as well, all within our business, for other things, for profit, for owner's pay, for tax, and for operating expenses. And we distribute that. Most people do it on a weekly basis and do it in set percentages. So the book has a table with recommended percentages, and they are based on the business's level of revenue. And that's how it's worked out. So that's how this can work, from very, very small businesses all the way up. You distribute that out, and what it does is it basically says, well, this amount I'm going to put to profit, this I'm going to put to owner's pay, this I'm going to put to tax, and this I'm going to put to operating expenses. Now, at this point, a lot of people will say, well, how on earth can I put some money to profit and owner's pay when I'm not magicking money from somewhere? I don't have it now. How am I going to suddenly end up with money for these buckets? Because all my money gets spent on my operating expenses. There's no spare. This is not going to suddenly generate spare money. No, it's not going to suddenly generate spare money. It'd be great if it did, right? But it's not. So what we need to do, what I highly recommend people do as a very, very first step, is a real deep dive on their expenses in their business, and ask themselves two questions. One, is this expense 100% necessary to keep the proverbial lights on in my business? Is it 100% necessary? And, it might be 80% necessary or nice to have, but is it 100% necessary? If the answer is yes, then okay, you have to keep that expense. And the other one is this delivering me a positive return? So is it delivering me back more money than I am putting into it, or more time to free me up to sell, free me up to generate more money? And if you have any expenses that don't hit those categories, the question becomes, what is the purpose of those? And they tend to be what I like to call money leaks in a business. I also, incidentally, actually have a YouTube video that talks you through this money leaks and how to identify them. So I can give Sara the link to that as well if people are interested. But really getting clear on what expenses are necessary and are delivering a positive return, and which aren't, is one way that's going to help free up some money fundamentally for you to take home for you and your family to enjoy. And that's how we start getting those extra bits to be putting into profit, to be putting into owner's pay. And at the beginning, when you do this, even if the amount you put into profit is 0.5% or even 0.1%, that's okay, because we want to get into the habit of actually putting money aside for ourselves, for our profit and for our own pay. And that's a big part of it too. And you can start building that up then as well. And we find that once people start paying themselves a little bit more, they want to do it even more. So they want to be even more, examining their costs and that kind of thing, and really starting to feel comfortable with the numbers in their business as well, because I know a lot of people, numbers and finances, they feel really uncomfortable. It doesn't feel a nice place. And so if you can get to a point where actually this feels okay, that's a really positive thing as well.
Yeah, something that I've started to feel, and I hadn't felt this before, and I've been putting money away into, I call them buckets, but I remember long a time ago in the UK when we had no money at all, this is quite a few years ago, we did used to put money in envelopes, and it worked really well.
It does work really well,
So I kind of got that because, as I said before, there is a practical side to this very sort of out there energy person. And then for many years, it's one of the ways we got to France is that I put money aside and we bought, a car. Well, it wasn't a car, people carrier that could bring us here, and got removal vans. All of that happened because I was putting money aside. However, since I've been working with you and using the Profit First model, I'm starting to develop, and I've heard you talk about this, a love of saving.
Yes.
And it's an interesting energy shift in my body. I'm starting to think, well, of course I love saving, who doesn't? But I've started thinking and feeling about it in a different way, which has then had a knock-on effect, is that I have gone through more of my expenses.
Yeah, completely.
And I was doing it even before the whole coronavirus thing. I've cut things out because I'm starting to feel in my energy system how it feels.
I love it.
To support and nourish myself in a completely different way.
Yes.
So, it's good.
I love that. Awesome.
Yeah, it's a real feeling where it was before, it was a head based, I need savings. And yes, that's good. And I actually feel it now in my body. So yeah, very interesting. So well, thank you, Annette.
You're welcome.
I really enjoyed just connecting with you and sharing what you do with as many people as possible, which also helps me spread my message of just empowering healers to go out there and share their gifts in whatever way that calls them, because the world needs us right now.
100% more than ever. And if anyone has any questions for me, please do just let me know in the comments, tag me, and I can kind of look back and answer those.
Sure. So would you please tell everybody the Facebook group?
I will do,
I will make sure that you're in our group so that you can respond to any things that I put up in the Sacred Rising group.
Perfect.
But if you're watching this recording any other way, how could people get hold of you?
Yeah, you can come and join my Facebook group, my private community on Facebook. It's completely free, and it's called the Uncover Wealth Community. So if you just search that in the Facebook bar, we should pop up there, and I'd love to have you in there. We basically speak about all things kind of business, money related. We're speaking, of course, a lot about coronavirus and what you can do in your business as a result of that hitting at the moment. I have I'm live in there at least once a week for Training Tuesday every week. At the moment, I'm a lot more though. So I'm in there all the time answering questions and supporting business owners in there. So everyone is welcome to join. You don't just have to be in the UK. Wherever you are welcome to join that group.
Yeah, and your website name?
The website is annetteandco.co.uk.
Yeah, excellent. And that's where people can go to get the PDF you spoke about.
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent.
Great.
Well, so thank you, Annette. It's been really, really nourishing and empowering to connect with you.
Good.
And please let us both know how you any takeaways that you have. And thank you, Annette.
Thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate it. Have a great day, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.